Women currently make up the majority of South Africa's voters' roll. Of the 27.7 million voters expected to cast their vote on May 29, 15 million are female. With 55% of registered voters being women, approximately 3 million more women than men are expected to cast their vote in the upcoming elections. Despite women being such an important demographic, we haven't seen enough of them ascend to the top positions of political power in the country. Now, 30 years into democratic South Africa, the country has yet to witness a democratically elected female president, despite women's high voter participation. So how do we increase and encourage women's political representation and participation? Well, Dibeela Gertrude Mothupi, a commissioner at the Commission for Gender Equality, joins us for this discussion. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. So now we understand, of course, that, as much ground has been covered, but more still needs to be done, to increase women's participation in politics, as an example. I mean, what will women's inclusion look like when it does eventually happen?
Well, looking at the list at the moment, I do not see us having 50% representation in the total number of members of the National Assembly and of the 9 provincial legislatures. And this is due to the differences in the lists of different political parties. Some political parties have got more women on their lists, 50% representation, and some, even though it's 50% representation, but the strategic positioning of women, they have failed on that, because some have put women where they are not guaranteed to get into the legislatures, even though some have put women where they will be there. But in the main, even though there are political parties which have shown some commitment towards 50% representations, but most have not put women on the top of their lists in a manner that ensures that the women will ultimately make it into the 10 legislatures of South Africa. So at the moment, we are still not going to see 50% representation in the 10 legislatures of South Africa because of the list of political parties.
So then how do we then increase and, in fact, encourage women's political representation and participation? I mean, you talk about strategic intent. Just talk to us about that and perhaps what women also need to do to push.
At the moment, it looks like we are left with only one option of taking the legislative route, of ensuring that quotas are legislated, which is really very sad for us, because political parties themselves, as leading the society, should be in a position to commit to equality, should not wait for a legislation to force them into ensuring that women are represented. Because we all know that the majority of the population of South Africa is women. The majority of registered voters in South Africa are women. The majority of people who turn up during the elections, who actually go and vote, are women. So it shows that women are committing their time to political parties, because we go there to vote for political parties, by the way. They are committing their time to political parties by ensuring that they go and vote. So it looks like we are having only one option of taking the legislation route, of ensuring that the women, the 50% or equal representation or parity is enforced amongst political parties which are registered to campaign for elections and be represented in the 9 legislatures.
We of course know, historically, the system that women live and work within is really not for them, not at all. In fact, I want to bring us to this, point that looking at this new study by the World Bank, which has revealed that there is still no equality for working women, as an example, in any country in the world, and that, in fact, the global gender gap is far bigger than previously thought. So we are underreporting even on that front. So how is it then possible to know, if women will advocate for women's rights, where there are guarantees that the right woman particularly are seated at the right table as we are, sometimes being told?
Well, I would make an example with 2 women as an indication that indeed we have women who are committed to ensuring that the women's agenda is put on the table. We have women who come to the table who ensure that there is equality. We've had Dr. Mlambo Ngcuka, who was the executive director of UN Women for 2 consecutive terms. She introduced generation equality, and that in itself shows that she advocated for women's empowerment. And we've had Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, who was also at the AU, who also introduced Africa Agenda 2063. There are still a lot of the Nkosazana Dlamini-Zumas and the Mlambo Ngcukas are amongst women in South Africa, even those who are not in politics, who, if they are brought to the table, who will ensure that they bring up women's issues, they empower other women. We have a lot of women who I want to believe that once they are given power or authority, will ensure that they give other women a hand so that they can also come to the table. The only issue is here that most of the time, women are not given an opportunity to do so. They are not given an opportunity to showcase what they can do in terms of ensuring that they advocate and work for equality and raise women's issues.
In fact, they are sometimes told to create their own table. Well, that's where we have to leave it. Commissioner, for now, thank you so much for your time.